All right, so let's talk about what I consider to be one of the most important concepts in managing sports experiences. That is building and managing team franchise equity. If you can manage a team's franchise equity, you will always have a job in sports marketing. And of course, the single most important thing for creating franchise equity is successfully managing a team's event experience. So the concept of franchise equity, the value of an established franchise compared to a new franchise. So how much equity have you built up in the franchise over time? Or what is the value of a professional or collegiate team franchise compared to its peers? The idea of brand equity and then of course franchise equity is based on the idea of goodwill. That is, if you when I owned a college bar, I got ready to sell the college bar, and the bar was worth whatever the building was worth and whatever the fixtures were worth. But also added into the value of that business is all of the business and goodwill that was built up by those of us who had run that business. And so that concept of the added value is an important notion in brand equity, and it's also an important issue in sports teams' franchise equity. So the franchise equity model looks like this. There are 5 elements that drive franchise equity for a team. The first is team awareness. The second is perceived quality. The third is team loyalty by the fans. Fourth are key associations. And fifth are assets. So if we think of a professional franchise hockey team, for instance, everyone knows the names of the hockey teams. And so all teams have some level of awareness. Some people are more aware of a franchise than others. For instance, there are a number of people in town who know who the Golden Knights players are, and know who the Golden Knights coaches are, and know the Golden Knights' current record. There are others who they know the Golden Knights are a brand new NHL team in town, but they don't know very much else about the Golden Knights. Perceived quality, of course, then is another issue for a particular franchise, and that is how good do you think the franchise is? What's the prospects for winning titles and winning and being a really good team? Then, of course, the issue of team loyalty. Some teams have more fans than others. Some teams have what we would like to refer to as fair weather fans. That is, they're fans as long as you're winning. But as soon as you start losing, they're not really fans of yours anymore. They go to the next winning team. 2 other factors, key associations and other assets, will also be discussed as we go through the equity model. So let's start with team awareness. Now, team awareness is the ability of potential fans to recognize and recall the name of the team, its record, its players, its coaches, where it plays, its schedule. All those sorts of things are all part of the team awareness. And it's based on this very simple notion, and that is the more people know about your team, the more equity you have in them, and the more vested they are in you. Even if they're not great fans, the more they know about you, the more the awareness is, and the more likely it is that those people can be turned into fans at some particular point in time. So team awareness is a crucial aspect, and like I said, everyone knows about the teams. The real question is, how much do they know about the teams? What is their level of awareness? The awareness creates value of team franchise equity in 4 ways. First, it becomes an anchor for other associations. That is, knowledge about the team helps us anchor other associations and makes it easier for us to build a stronger network of understanding about the team. The second is that familiarity is always been tied to liking. So the more familiar you are with the team, the more it is that you are more likely to like them. Third, it's a signal of substance. And fourth, it becomes a brand or team to consider. The level of awareness goes all the way from unaware that there even is a team to being able to identify the team and its team logo, and you have some brand name recognition, to maybe even a team knowledge and then some recall of the players on the team or what the record is of the team or who's coaching the team. Think about someone like the Golden Knights. How much do you know about the Golden Knights? So you know that they're a hockey team, and you know that they are a good hockey team, and you might know what their current record is. Do you know who their top players are? Do you know who their goalie is? Do you know who their new coach is? Do you know the names of some of the assistant coaches? The more of this you can say yes to, the higher your level of awareness associated with the Golden Knights. Of course, at the top of this is the notion of total top of the mind awareness. That is, you know all about the team. You know everything there is to know about the team. There is a widespread belief that advertising dollars will allow a new brand to overtake a mature brand. That is, that with enough advertising, a brand new brand will become more well known and people will be more aware of it than a mature brand. For the most part, it ain't so. A recent study of 22 top brands in 1925 shows that 19 are still number one and two, are number one and two are number two. So 21 out of 22 brands are still at the top of their market. It's better to revitalize an old brand than try to develop a new one from an awareness perspective. That is the impact of the finding. So what's the impact of this for sports franchises? Well, it simply means that you should have a competitive advantage if you've been around longer. Think about the Yankees and the Mets in New York. The Mets are the newer team, even though they've been around almost forever. But it turns out that the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants and the New York Yankees all had a head start on the Mets. But by the time the Mets came to New York, the Dodgers were in Los Angeles, the Giants were in San Francisco, and it was just the Yankees and the Mets. Over the years, the Mets have become very popular, but they have never been able to overtake the awareness and knowledge that local fans have of the Yankees compared to the Mets. The same is true for Los Angeles, where in the Los Angeles basin there are two teams also, and of course those two teams include the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Los Angeles Angels. Now, the Dodgers didn't have a great lead on the Angels, but they did get to California before the Angels, and they had a long history of knowledge of them when they were part of the Brooklyn Dodgers in New York. So when they moved to LA, they brought all the players with them, and so all that history got transferred over with them, and as a result, they had a head start on the very brand new American League franchise, then called the California Angels, which was a brand new franchise with no previous history and no and as a result, no particular awareness to start. So what does that mean about the Raiders? Well, the Raiders are coming to Las Vegas, and they're not a new franchise. Now, when the Golden Knights got here, they were a brand new franchise. Everything we know about the Golden Knights is their whole history is 3 or 4 years long since they become a franchise here in Nevada. Now, Nevadans know a lot about the Golden Knights. Other people around the country, real hockey fans, know who some of their players are, but it is not as if everyone is fully aware of them other than hockey fans. When the Raiders come to town, they are going to bring a history and awareness with them. They don't have to start from scratch like the Golden Knights did. So there is some benefit associated with that. And so when the Raiders get here, they will not be at ground zero and having to build awareness and interest and knowledge about their team. Um, they will already have some of that here. Well, how about the Rebels and the Rebel football team? Well, certainly they've been around for a long time. And there are people who know lots about the Rebels. But if you think about it, even you as students at the university would have a hard time naming the Rebels' new coach, the Rebels' star quarterback, the Rebels' best defensive player, the Rebels' record the last 2 or 3 years, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, one of the things that we use in traditional brand equity is something called an image power score, which is a score that represents both recognition and favorableness of a particular name. That could be a team name or team players, etc. So, what are some of the awareness building activities? Well, some of the things that we might do to build more awareness for our particular team franchise would be a word of mouth campaign. That is, get our fans to talk about our team. Or maybe an word of mouth campaign where that is done with social media. Another way to build awareness is to be different and be memorable. What sorts of memories do you have about Rebel football? Now, with Rebel basketball, it's a slightly different story. I was here in 1990 when the University of Nevada, Las Vegas running Rebel basketball team was the national champions of the NCAA. We have great memories of that time. Players like Larry Johnson and Stacey Augmon, and the legendary coach Jerry Tarkanian, and big memorable wins against some of the top teams in the country, like Oklahoma, and at that time Georgetown, and at that time the University of Arkansas, and of course Loyola Marymount from California. Another way to build awareness is to involve a slogan. So if we have a new team, maybe we have a slogan that goes with that team. And of course, the symbols, the logos, the trade dress, the uniforms, all that sort of thing is all part of helping to build awareness. We'll talk more about that later. Another way to build awareness is to sponsor events so that the Golden Knights or the Las Vegas Raiders are event sponsors. That is, they sponsor summer camps and they sponsor charity golf tournaments and they sponsor other things. One of the interesting things that I always point out to people about the Golden Knights is that I've been to, over the last 2 or 3 years, probably 30 or 40 charitable events. I'm on the board of a number of charitable organizations, and so I do attend a lot of charitable events. I can say with some level of certainty that I don't ever remember going to a charitable event in the last 2 or 3 years where the Golden Knights were not present. Every event I've been to, the Golden Knights either have someone at the event or have donated something to that event. So the Golden Knights are doing a great job of building awareness for them through their involvement in community activities and not-for-profit activities, in particular charitable events. Another way to build awareness for an organization is to build those associations. Okay, and so those associations might be associations with coaches or associations with famous players who played for those teams. So when the Dodgers came to Los Angeles, all of their players were legends in New York and in Brooklyn. So they had people like Gil Hodges and Johnny Roseboro and Sandy Koufax and all of these players who were part of the Brooklyn Dodgers were legendary when they came to Los Angeles. Now, the California Angels didn't have any of that, so all their players were new to the Angels, and while some of them were relatively well known, they certainly didn't have the associations that the Dodgers had to build on immediately. Rebel football has a number of very positive associations in terms of former players. Many of you know that Randall Cunningham, an all-pro quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, was a quarterback for the Running Rebels football team in the 80s, along with legendary running back Ickey Woods, and then other people like McCardle and some of these other folks who became stars over time more recently. Some other things that we might do to build awareness is fan-generated social media content, which is like word of mouth, but it's more focused on fans generating pictures and comments and positive information about the team to flood the internet with information to help build awareness for the team. Other things would be mascots. The Running Rebels, of course, have Hey Reb as their mascot, and the band playing and all those sorts of things. The more licensing that you can do and the more products that you can get out and get sold, the higher the awareness for the basketball, the sports team. In the late 80s and early 90s, you couldn't turn the TV on anywhere in the country where someone in the crowd wasn't wearing a UNLV t-shirt, a UNLV sweatshirt, a UNLV hoodie, UNLV shorts. The UNLV logo was everywhere. Now, let's talk a little bit about this issue of publicity. Of course, the whole point behind doing things that publicity events and helping newspapers generate stories is to get people to become more aware of your team. This is a bit of a problem right now for UNLV athletics. The Golden Knights and now even the Las Vegas Raiders have moved the Rebels off the front page of the newspaper's lead story on the sports section of the newspaper, and they've knocked it off the lead story on the sports on local evening news. And as a result, it is harder and harder now for UNLV athletics to build awareness for their teams and to build awareness using the traditional publicity approach, where we try to get local TV and news and local sports writers to write articles about our team. And in many cases, we write the articles and we set the thing up, and all they really have to do is come in and record it or take it and take what we've written, modify it a little bit, and then publish it. So the problem now is that a lot of that is not as readily available as it was 20 years ago when UNLV athletics was really the only high-level athletics in town. Well, that reduces franchise equity, and it reduces the opportunity to increase franchise equity. I mean, that's why, for instance, the Rebels have a brand new football coach, and many of us don't even know his name. Some of us know that he came from the University of Oregon, where he was the offensive coordinator for the Oregon Ducks, who beat my alumni, the University of Wisconsin Badgers, in the Rose Bowl this year. But most of us don't know very much about him, don't know very much about his name, really don't know very much about his background. And as a result, them hiring him and UNLV athletics not being able to get that person out into the community and out and get his name out in the community and get him become more well recognized hurts the awareness aspect of building equity. The second part of this is something called perceived team quality. Now, this is the degree to which fans believe the team is a winner or has the potential to win or is trying its hardest and is committed to win in the future. That is, if not winning, the hope of winning. And we find with a lot of data that perceived quality is the number one factor affecting profits, and it is one of the key factors in developing team franchise equity. Perceived quality is the lifeblood of building a brand and also building sports team equity. So how do you signal team quality? Well, I have a list of things here, and of course you can come up with others. The way that you signal team quality is you have the same features, assets, promotions as the top teams. You have your team feel, look, and act like a high quality team. Your name signals high quality. The stadium or arena that you play in signals quality. Your players and recruits are nationally ranked in all of the ranking polls in terms of players. If it's a professional team, you have all-stars and all-pro players. Your coaches are recruited and signed as coaches who have had great success in the past and are on the rise and are well known. You might have national rankings. So if your team is nationally ranked, and you know that in our football league, annually the San Diego State Aztecs and the Boise State Broncos are often nationally ranked in the top 25 in the country. Things like home field advantage, that is long winning streaks at home. Having a national media campaign. In college sports, it might be having players in the pros, having players become All-Americans, having players be all-conference. Prices. High-quality teams have higher-priced season tickets and higher-priced individual game tickets. And, of course, another way to signal quality, just win, baby, win. Now, I have skipped one up here that I wanted to talk a little bit about, and that's the warranty guarantee notion. That is this notion that we guarantee that we are going to win. We guarantee that we are going to be good, or you have a near warranty or guarantee. And so I do have a funny Yankees-White Sox story for you. Back in the 80s, I attended a Yankee-White Sox game at Yankee Stadium, and it was a game where the Yankees were playing the White Sox, and the Yankees played absolutely horrible. And so at the 8th inning of the game, many of the fans had already left in disgust, but on the loudspeaker they announced that if you kept your ticket stubs, they would give you a ticket to another game for the Yankees because they were so embarrassed about how they played. That is, they were giving you your, maybe not your money back, but giving you another opportunity to see the Yankees play where they guaranteed that they would play better. If you want to signal team quality, everything needs to be top shelf. So understand that awareness and perceived quality are two of the key elements to build and maintain a sports team's franchise equity.